first.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna freaking die off those bangs, man.
I'm not.
You gotta back it off. Yeah, you don't want you talk to me when you're 40. You're like, well, I have heart problems. I'd be like, I told you.
All right, this one's pretty good.
Is it good? Oh, that was the first taste of the new flavor.
I'm not much of a blueberry guy, but it is a nice combination of the nectarine with the blueberry. Neither one is too overpowering.
Wow, you sound like a wine taster. You know, like whenever they take a sip and they're describing it, that's what you are. Your bangs.
Nectarine really comes in on the finish.
It's just gonna bang you in the heart one day, dude.
Dude, it's not. It's got vitamins in it.
Creatine, right?
Yeah. Vitamins makes me strong. Oh, it's good for me. Meanwhile, your heart's like.
It's got EAA aminos. I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm assuming it heals my DNA like Spider-Man. It's got Ultra CoQ10, which is actually good for your heart.
It's literally called. That was like.
I worked at Walgreens long enough to know
the word Coke was in that.
CoQ10 is good for you.
I don't accept that.
0 calories, 0 sugar. I can't read everything, but you're not supposed to have it if you're under 18. It causes nervousness, irritability, sleeplessness, and occasionally rapid heartbeat.
Occasionally?
Not rapid enough.
Dude, I drank half of one of those things, and I thought I was going to throw up.
I down these things at work because like I'm constantly on my feet, constantly moving, constantly doing stuff. And so like I got to have that super creatine and the amino acids. And
boy, when I got it, no, don't fool everybody in here. When I came up in there to get my shirts, you was sitting back for 30 minutes talking to some lady about what her shirts were gonna be.
Exactly.
I know you sitting back for long time. Come on, man, don't play.
Some days. Today I sat there and worked on some art for somebody for an hour and a half.
So you just said you're on your feet all day.
Then I spent the rest of the day cranking out orders, trying to get stuff done. Breaking down style. Yeah.
Well, I did 71 inspections today out in the sun, so I don't really want to.
Today was hot.
First of all, you chose. You chose that job.
It was. I am only in this job for the pay. I can tell you that right now.
I freaking love my job, dude. Like I've been enjoying this shit so much.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. No, you should love your job.
Wake up so amped and ready to go make some effing shirts.
If I get this promotion, I'll like my job a lot more. I can promise you that. Not because it'll change, because I will be getting a good raise. So that's about. I'll like it a lot more when that happens.
Absolutely.
So.
But regardless, since Jake's just starting this off with such random,
I did this. Yeah, I'm going to start talking about what the ingredients of a bang.
Episode 169 of the Herpetoculture podcast. I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics, as normal, as usual.
Sorry,
joined by Sir Jacob Bratz of Longleaf Reptilia.
I can introduce myself, but
I just, I was trying to make it professional and do it nice, and you just whatever. We'll just
you're the
same thing we do every week.
This isn't what we do every week. You're trying to introduce me. That's not how we normally do it. You're throwing me off.
Hey, cool. You like racks? Me too. You should check out blackboxcages.com. Facebook, Instagram, blackboxcages.com. Sliders are now available. So for those of you who are not a fan of swing out doors, swing down doors, sliders are now a thing. On the XT3, and then the 8-foot model, which is sort of yet to be officially announced, that'll have slider options as well. So be prepared to check those out. And Steve Snake's Rain's Venom hot sauce. So you like hot sauce? So do we. I don't like it as much as Steve does, but I feel like a lot of people don't like hot sauce as much as Steve does, because that guy's just a maniac. But check him out, stevesnakesrate.com. You get his Venom hot sauces. You can get the whole set, collect them all. We like the cottonmouth sauce. That's where it's at. So if you get his hot sauce, you're helping him out. He does a lot of public education, outreach. He does relocations. He goes and does removals. He has his own collection of animals that he uses for presentations and takes to talk to people about snakes. And if you get his hot sauce, you're helping him with all that. So go check it out. We love it. I feel like I need to get another set just to have at least a bottle of cottonmouth sauce for sure. Because I don't, who knows what I'll put that on? I'll put it on everything. You know.
Yeah, it's good on all that stuff for sure. Feels good on chicken. It's good on anything.
It's almost like Old Bay. Like you could put Old Bay on literally anything, and it just makes it better. Like a shoe.
A shoe.
You know, yeah. Some like you go and cut your grass. You just take a handful of that cut grass and just sprinkle some Old Bay on there. Like instantly better. Literally.
So
Old
that's
Bay.
what's wrong with you. Got it.
Old Bay in your Corona.
Hey,
Perfect. There you go.
good. Yeah, had some flavor there. Who needs
Well,
to
this-
line?
Corona, you know.
Whew. Don't they make like the weird sort of like salt, like seasoning stuff that you put around like in your beer or like around the thing? I don't know. It's like a margarita salt. But
Yeah, I don't think it's for beer, but yeah, they make shit like that.
Well, this week we are joined by Mr. Jack Oliver, who is a fellow South Carolinian in the upstate, who is keeping all kinds of cool stuff. Very anxious to, yeah.
Shout
Always
out
good
South
to have
Carolina.
another South Carolina guy.
Yeah, buddy.
Fuck yeah.
So he's got all kinds of really cool stuff. We've had this set up for a couple weeks now, and I'm glad we finally made it happen. You got some really awesome setups that I'm anxious to talk about. You know, you have Dwarf Caymans, which I've been very interested in for as long as I can remember. I'll know if I'll ever own one or not, but I've always wanted one, so I get to live vicariously through guys like you. And so real quick breeding updates. Loma Altas have not started hatching yet. They're due to any day now. I think we're on like day 64, 65, so we're getting down to the wire. Blood Red Girl is still very slowly just popping out slugs periodically. None of them have been viable eggs, so I'm kind of just, I don't think I'm getting anything good out of her.
Yeah.
But she's okay. Otherwise, like she's just really taking her time dropping these things. So I'll take it, you know, as long as she's okay. And what else? I think that's about it. Got corns that are taking their first meals. That Het Ghost Tessera clutch. I think almost all of them, I think, ate. And then I've got a handful of Ladies Island corns that are ready to go. They've been eaten. They're at least 3 meals deep. I got some caramel Miamis that are Het, diffused, sun-kissed, and possible Het, diffused, sun-kissed, and cinder. Those are looking really good. They're starting to color up. I got some sheds happening with those. Then I have a couple Diones available. So if anyone is interested in those, hit me up. If you're going to Daytona, there's a good chance I can bring them to Daytona. Other than that, nothing really new going on. I don't know, Jake, you got anything especial happening over there?
No, I added 2 female corns from you, so that was cool. That was last week. They're chilling, so that's good. Sold quite a few carpets recently, so that was good / hard, but you know, it is what it is. Slimmed down a few babies and putting a little bit more focus on things there, so that's good.
That's what happens when you just convert to colubrids and just give up.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I haven't done that. It was more so I was just kind of holding on to things for a while and see how things developed. And, you know, this big colubrid boom I've had, you know, I realized like, all right, it might be time to part with some of last year's or some of 2020 babies, I should say. I feel like it's been a year, but it's been much longer than that. So part with some of the 2020 babies. So I sold all of them except 1.1. So got some Daytona deliveries and then some shipping out right after Daytona. So pretty exciting. It's going to fund a couple projects and give me some driving money for Daytona, be that gas money. So it worked out well. Got to pay off some stuff and pay for a pair of fox snakes. So that's exciting. So yeah, very excited about those. So yeah, that's about it. I think nothing too crazy. Right.
How like are those
Haven't
fox?
sold. Yeah,
You
haven't
mentioned
sold
the fox
snakes in a
snakes
while.
last
So
week. Were those? Are they're? I mean, they're hatchlings.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're fresh babies from this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
but again, I'm not gonna count my eggs for the hatch, but as long as all goes well, I'll be getting a pair from Montrose. But
Oh, I had a bear hatch. So that clutch of 2 on the head hypos. One of them hatched. It looks like it's a male, which is really frustrating because all my hypos are male. So it's like I really just wanted a female. Really fat little baby though, looking really good. And so the other egg, I was like, okay, well I'll go ahead and it hadn't hatched yet or pipped yet. So I was like, I'll go ahead and slice it. And it's close to full term. Still hasn't had any of the color come in yet. But it's still alive. I don't know if it's going to go the distance or not because it's odd that it's where it is and it hasn't, with incubation being the same because they're in the same egg box and stuff. I don't know if that one was even going to hatch at all. I don't know what the deal is. So kind of just sitting on it and babysitting it a little bit to see what happens. So I got one head hypo.
What do you mean it hasn't developed color? Like what do you mean?
Like it's like a pink snake.
Really? It's
yeah, alive? Like all the color and stuff comes in like towards the very end of incubation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Really honestly, I didn't test it or anything like that because I didn't want to introduce any sort of like bacteria or something into that.
Yeah. I'd almost wonder if it's not dead in the egg.
I mean, it might be. There's still veins and all that, so I don't know. But it was that odd shaped one. It was like literally shaped like a Dorito, kind of. It was just odd. Like it might have been kind of done from the jump. So we'll see. But
obviously not if it developed. Mostly. But
it could have just I don't know. So
something. Yeah.
Got one. If it's a female, I'm definitely holding on to it. If it's a male, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know like Derek was looking for a male head or hypo, so we'll see. And then, like I said, Loma Altos are next up on deck to hatch, and I'm really excited about those because that's been something that I've been working for since I got the pair in 2019.
I remember I was with you when you got
those. Yep. I don't know. Those are gonna be. I'm gonna hoard almost all of those probably. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm definitely holding on to a lot of them. I don't know what I'll have for sale. Like I said, the ratios and stuff, same thing. I don't like to sort of count my snakes before they hatch, but may or may not have some of those available in the coming weeks.
How many eggs of those do you have? 7?
8?
8. Good deal.
Yeah. So they all look good, no issues. Everything looks healthy. So like I said, they're on like day 60. They got to be on day like 64, 65. So we're right there, sort of. It's time.
Raise them for 6 months to a year before you make any decisions.
I don't think anything ugly will come out of that clutch.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. But
you
might get something that's going to be, extra. So raise them for a little while. I always say that. Raise them up for a little bit and make your choices. I guess you can't really do that with colubrids from South Carolina anymore. But
I don't know. Yeah. Those might take a little more work to get feeding if they were anything like the clutch was last year. We'll see. I mean, they weren't horrible, but they weren't like the corns where it was just drop a pinky in, watch it disappear. So we'll see. But anyways, Jack, sort of general intro stuff. What are you currently keeping? What do you got going on? Sort of, you can get into your background with Herps if you want to. Kind of leave it up to you.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that just because it's a little bit different. But I originally grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I had sort of a northern reptile experience, which is a little bit different, just because I feel like their reptile community. Well, wild reptiles are limited for sure.
Yeah.
Like show wise, they had a ton of shows up there. And when we moved down here, I want to say like right around 2008 or sometime around then. The South Carolina reptile scene was it's still a little bit interesting. Like the Repticon was just starting to really get big. They had Columbia, right? Columbia was huge, but in Charlotte at least, it wasn't like that, established. Whereas in Pittsburgh, you had shows every other weekend up there. So,
Oh, wow.
Moved down here and was like, where do I go to find reptiles, to buy and stuff like that. So that was pretty interesting. But also moving down here, I was like totally blown away by the amount of reptiles that were wild here. I remember the first time I saw a green anole, and I was like, this must be somebody's escaped pet. Like lizards don't live in the US, right?
Wow.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting. But very glad I moved down here because the herping experience has been, way better here than it would have been up there. So, but yeah, I mean, just background wise, I, love dinosaurs like everyone else, and just somehow started keeping snakes. And so I still got my first ball python that I got when I was like 11. He's like 14 years old now. So
That's awesome, dude.
yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's great.
Yeah. So he's pretty cool. So my collection's pretty interesting right now. It's just a lot of things. I've kind of got the Noah's Ark situation going on, sort of in a transition period,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff I got before I was like listening to podcasts and like really understanding what I want to get into. So I got a couple of carpet pythons. I got a jag, a tiger jag, coastal, just a regular coastal. There might be diamond in it. I don't know. There's no lineage on both of these. They were Repticon pickups, Yeah. So got those two. Definitely want to get some more carpets. They're definitely, as far as pythons go, my lane, I would say. And then getting a lot more colubrids. I've had colubrids. Corn snakes were my second snake ever, and I've had colubrids for a long time, but really starting to get more really into the garter snakes. So I've got 3 of those right now: albino checkered, Florida blue line, and then a het albino plains garter. So definitely that's on the list for Daytona this year. So I want to pick up some more of those. But yeah, and then outside of that, a couple of ball pythons, corn snake. I'm building sort of like a South Carolina native reptile display in my reptile room. So I've got, chain king, black racer, a couple black rats. I think that's it. I had some decays browns. I had a female who laid or gave birth to a bunch of babies, but those suckers are so small when they come out, man. Like you can't. I don't know. I was talking to Connor Wardle about it a bunch, trying to get them feeding, and I just couldn't get them feeding. So I was like, I'm gonna let these things go because they're not gonna do well with me. So
Yeah,
I think eventually I'll try those again when I like have more time and more time to dedicate to that. Because that was one of the staple snakes growing up, or at least once we moved here, just finding those all over the place. And they look pretty similar to garters. I think they're in the same Nitrocene group or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, definitely will get those again. And then I have my my Dwarf Cayman, Kevin. So that he's the main guy in the collection. I think if I could give up all my snakes and just keep crocodiles, I would, but I don't have enough space to do that or time. So yeah, those things are they're a lot. So yeah, that's what I'm keeping right now.
very
And then
nice.
working on the big Cayman enclosure. That's the recent gold project, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in making the outline and stuff, I like to scroll through and sort of see things that pique my interest, and then sort of formulate questions around those. But like, you have pretty elaborate setups.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's for everything you got, but it's for some of the stuff you got. And so having that on top of a diverse collection like you have, is it difficult to balance all of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the enclosures, you have like a set time frame on how long you think that they're going to take to complete, and then you double or triple that, and then you're like, oh shit, I got to feed snakes tonight. Like, you get in the zone building an enclosure, and you're like, I don't know, I forget about things sometimes. So I'm like 11 o'clock at night feeding snakes because I was so in on building the enclosures. But I don't know, I've always been into like the building of the displays. I like landscaping too, so it just goes hand in hand. I think my ultimate goal is to sort of open up a reptile education center. So I feel like everything I'm doing now is just sort of training in preparation for that, building these enclosures and stuff like that. I have all the time right now, so I might as well, hone the tactics, see what, is cheapest and works well, and figure it out from there. but definitely each one is a huge learning experience. My Jag carpet python enclosure, I used like a ton of concrete to build the rocks. That thing weighs like 1,000 pounds. I cannot move it.
Oh man.
So that one will be going in the trash whenever I move, and then we'll start over on that. Use dry lock or something like that.
Put it on some caster caster.
Yeah.
Man. It'll be good to go.
Yeah, in the next one. Yeah, so I have an interesting reptile room because it's my crawl space. It's like a walkout basement. So, but it's a crawl space, so there's no floor in there. So I have like plywood down. But I should back up. It's like a plastic liner. I had somebody come in and like, I forget what they call it, but they lined the basement, put a dehumidifier in and all kinds of stuff. And so then I just put like OSB boards down and then a carpet. And so that's what the floor is of my basement. So I can't use casters or anything like that. It's kind of annoying. Yeah.
I got you. Is that air conditioned down there?
No, it actually, because it's mostly underground, it stays like very cool down there. So yeah, we'll see when I get all the new lights set up for the Cayman enclosure. But right now I think it's at 75. So it's not bad. Yeah.
It's still bizarre.
That's interesting.
Like, no one has basements down here, so it's like such
Yeah.
a foreign concept, you know?
Yeah. No one really does here either. My house is just kind of built on a hill, so it's like a weird situation. I think a lot of people don't want to dig out the clay because we got so much of that clay up here. But
yeah. We're all sand down here, man. You can't do basements down here. It'll collapse. It don't happen here.
Yeah, my dad actually lives in Hilton Head, so he's down there, and they've got like a strange basement thing, but I guess because of the flood zone, they're not allowed to finish it. So it's like a sort of a basement, but also like a crawl space. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, they can. I inspect houses for a living, and there's some weird houses down here.
It's people coming down here not knowing that we're practically below sea level.
Yeah,
like I'm going to build a basement, and it's like, well, you can, but
there was somebody here we were talking yesterday. They were trying to build, and their site was 8 feet above sea level.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
I lived in Charleston for a year, and I remember I calculated the sea level I was at because there was a hurricane rolling through, and I was like, is this place going to flood? Am I good here? And I was 16 feet above, and I was like, close, but we'll see what happens with the flooding.
Yeah, we get some crazy tides around here too.
Yeah, that was a king tide too.
Yeah, king tide will wreck you if you're close to the water.
Yeah, it was weird. There was no one in Charleston. It was like a ghost town. It was a wild experience.
Man, everyone gets out of Dodge if it's getting serious. You got the people that are like, I'm not leaving for nothing.
Yeah.
Then you got the people that are like, oh, there's a tropical storm in the middle of the Atlantic that'll be here next week. Let's get out of here. Like, load up the car. We're leaving. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had all the reptiles, so I was like, I can't move them all or leave here. So stick around. But
what size?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm down in that area all the time, so love it down there.
Yeah, man.
What size? So you have these bigger, like that concrete that you were talking about with that enclosure for the Jag. Like what size enclosure are you typically shooting for with the carpets and some of the other stuff?
Yeah, so she's in a 4x2x3, which is, I feel like a pretty good size. But when I put all that concrete stuff in there, it went down to like a 4x3x18 maybe, or maybe even less. So it's definitely, I feel like it's smaller now. I think 4x2x3 is going to be my goal for the future enclosures. I want to get like some diamonds and stuff. And keep them in pairs just in the winter in the 4x2x3, and then keep them outside most of the time. So that's going to be the goal.
So are you shooting for like 3 foot high?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, that's going to be the goal. I just, they perch up so nicely, and I really like looking at them. I think carpets are the best display snake just because of the way they perch, and they still move around unlike green trees, but they just sit. But I think carpets can, there's a lot that can be done display wise for carpets, and I think there's a lot of room to experiment with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
they're great. They're great.
Do you have like a plan for the outdoor stuff when you do that? in terms of like we've talked about it before. You
Yeah.
know, like it would be awesome to do outdoor enclosures, especially for stuff like Brettles and whatnot. But like my
Yeah.
constant concern is raccoons and stuff
Yeah.
killing your animals through the, grabbing them through the fencing or the wire or whatever, and and killing them like they do chickens and stuff all the time. So it's like I always wonder, people who do it here, or even in the Southeast in general, or I guess in the States in general, because it seems like raccoons are just about everywhere. Like, what's the plan to sort of curb anything happening there?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't gotten that far. But my buddy Zach, he's got some Brettles outside, and there's actually a company on Amazon. It's like Atrisum or something like that. But they make like bird aviaries and stuff like that. But they also make reptile enclosures that are on casters that you can put outside. So I was probably looking at buying some of those, but there's like electric fencing you can do, and just hook it up around the outside. So maybe that's what I would do. Right now I've got a box turtle enclosure outside that I've just got bird netting over the top of. Obviously that's not going to stop a raccoon, but I figured if it's just a box turtle in there, it's not going to be, it's not going to try that hard. At least I think, So.
And if you think about it, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of raccoons in my days. Raccoons are scavengers in a lot of sense. They are predators, but they are also big scavengers. And like, I've never seen a raccoon mess with, a semi-large rat snake around here. If you're putting something like a Brettles outside, I mean, if you wait till it's an adult to where it can't get out by itself easily, I mean, at that point, it's going to be 5 to possibly 7, maybe even 8 feet long. I don't really think a raccoon is gonna. I wouldn't really worry about a raccoon messing with someone. If it's gonna leave,
you'd be surprised because I've seen what they do to chickens, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's a chicken, though. Like a raccoon could potentially be prey for a big Brettles. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen them mess with snakes. I've never once seen a snake torn apart by something that looked like a raccoon. Like, I've never seen a big dead snake look like it's been partially eaten or something like that. That's just me. I could be completely wrong, but I don't see raccoons being huge predators. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe that's just me. But I'm not saying ignore it, but I'm not saying it would be a huge concern.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I feel like if you did the mesh like small enough so they couldn't get their hands in there, or the screen or whatever you're using, I think it'd be okay. They could just get
and I think that would be the biggest thing, is make sure they don't get scratched by something.
Yeah.
I don't know. You see like Iper and those guys over in Australia do it, but it's like they don't have to worry about that kind of thing. They don't have these little predatory bear relatives that are able to break into things like they're friggin' Ocean's 11.
Yeah, they are annoying. They just have to worry about putting their shoes on and having some sort of spider or something bite them.
They have literally everything else.
The other 99% of things of wildlife that can kill you.
Yeah, everybody listening in Australia is right now. It's like, oh yeah, we don't have raccoons. Fuck you. Like,
I don't know if
13 species of brown snake that all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
I wonder if the dingoes are like coyotes here, where they're in like in cities and stuff. I don't know. I have no knowledge of Australia really, but but yeah, that's a distant plan, is keeping the snakes outside. We'll see what happens. I think I read somewhere that like diamonds, their natural habitat is like very similar in temperature to Columbia, South Carolina. So
I believe it. Yeah.
So I feel like here it's a little bit colder, but it's not bad. So I could probably get away with like a hot box or something, keeping them year round, but. That's a lot of money to risk outside, so we'll see.
Well, what my thought was with future doing stuff like that, with like colubrids and stuff, is doing more of like a sunroom that's completely screened in, but you can close windows on it type of deal, so you can leave the windows open all the time. And then like during the winter, put a heat pad under some deep substrate, put a thermostat on it so they can get down and get to that 55 range, even when it's 30 degrees in your sunroom type of deal. You know, so I think a heat pad under there regulated would do wonders, you know, for them to still get that warmth, but still get the coolness of winter.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of room to experiment with that type of thing. And I don't know that a lot of people have done it. I mean, Camp Kennan in Florida, he does, you know, a ton of stuff outside and is really cool. I love watching his stuff and seeing, you know, how he's keeping things, but he's got a lot less cold to fight than we do. Or I don't know about you guys, but you know, up here
we don't have that much.
Yeah, we're certainly not Rock Hill winters, but you know, we're colder than South Florida.
Which it is pretty wild that you drive, you know, 4-5 hours, you know, in the adjacent corner of South Carolina, and it's like almost a different world, you know. It's just crazy. Like we don't get snow down here. Like you guys get snow up there, but like down here, snow is like a once in a decade sort of event, and it's a big deal when it happens. It's laughable compared to what you guys get, you know, up there. But it's just it blows my mind that it's not even it's not a far trek to cross the state. You know, like it's not like Florida where it's long and like a 12-hour drive from one tip to the other. You know, but it's like the habitat and stuff in general is wildly different too. You know, we talked about that a little bit last week with the, you know, coach whips and stuff like that. You know, we don't see those down here really. They do exist. We just don't see them. But like the more you go sort of upstate and into the coastal plains and Piedmont and stuff like that, then you do sort of notice those more. The habitat's better.
And it's we actually just like go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
I was going to say it's funny the variety of snakes that you actually get in South Carolina. You know, even within rat snakes down here, we see yellows. You get kind of northern part of like, or if you go a couple counties north, you'll get some grays, but we don't get any blacks. But just a couple hours up, you'll get blacks. You know, but you don't see yellows. You know, and it's just funny the different variety that you can get, you know, like you seeing
like
Midland.
It's just odd.
You know, like you seeing Midland waters and, you know, we only get bandeds and red bellies, you know, and it's just neat. You know, you can go to a different part a couple hours up and see brown water snakes, you know, but you won't see them down here, you know, and it's just neat. The variety that we can get really.
Yeah. We went to my buddy's place a couple of weeks ago, do some fishing and some herp, and then he's outside of Columbia, and the difference between here and also the coast was nuts. And the most common snake when I was on INAT looking around was hognose snakes. Like that was the most common snake around him, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, what? It's completely different. You know, you're lucky to see anything other than a black rat snake here. So, it was wild. And then I don't even know. The corns, I guess, were the rat snake in that area. I didn't see any rat snakes on INAT. So it's just wild how different it is. So
around here, I mean,
and then racers too.
Yeah, racers. I mean, we see more racers than anything around here. You know, I think that's the one across the board. You're gonna get that no matter where you go.
It's interesting because outside of Charlotte, like suburbs of Charlotte, you don't see racers at all. I guess they don't do well with development, like fast development. So we don't see them at all. And then you go, you know, 20 minutes south of where I am, and you can find them all over the place.
Yeah,
it's just around that developed area that you don't really find them. So yeah.
And you said you have one, like you're keeping.
Yeah, I've got a little baby. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. My buddy.
What's that been like?
It's cool, man. They're like, I don't know, they look like little pitayas, man. They got those like big eyes, you know.
Yeah. I never thought of them that way, but that's actually pretty spot on.
Yeah.
How long have you been keeping them? Is he eating?
Not long. 2 days maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. He, I threw a pinky in there, but that didn't happen. So.
By internet timelines, like you're an expert. If you had for 2 days.
Yeah. I know.
You can write a book at this point.
Yeah, care guides coming soon.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, those have always been interesting. I just don't know. Like, I feel like it's similar vein to coach whips.
Yeah.
You know, the Westerns seem to do well in captivity for the most part, but for whatever reason, I just see racers just never. I guess if you get them small enough, but like older animals, that just seems like a species that just would not adapt well to being in a box.
No, and I would agree. And I think that nobody's really tried because they're you know, to be honest, they're just a shitty black snake. You
Yeah.
know, that's the thing. Coach whips are at least pretty as adults. You know, racers are just black. And, you know, if they're like, oh, if I want a black snake, I'm going to get an indigo or a Mexican black king snake. You know, so it's one of those things. But yeah, I think if you start them young enough, they could be very much like coach whips.
Their
You know,
souls are even
you're gonna have to start them on lizards. You know, they're gonna be lizard feeders as babies. You know, they're certainly not going to be easy to get going. But you know, I think if you do it, they could be very successful. Connor Wardle is, you know, you talk about him. He's trying with a racer right now, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't know how successful he's been, but I remember he posted about it, and I was like, "Hey, let me know how he does," you know, because they've always interested me, man.
Yeah.
I think if you stuck an adult in the 6-foot enclosure, I think it could do really well.
Yeah, it'd be super fun to watch too.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talking about, or a lot of people, you know, there's like 3 people who've talked about feeding bugs. So I've got a huge backyard that has grasshoppers galore. So I'm going to go out there and net some tomorrow and just see, because he's tiny. So we'll see what happens.
Go grab some crickets from PetSmart, man. Throw them in there. Just throw a bunch in there. You know,
get some rough greens if you got grasshoppers, man. That's the first snakes I had were rough greens, and I used to go in our backyard and catch some grasshoppers and just throw them in there and watch them hunt those things. Was awesome.
I would love to keep a group of rough greens, man. That's still like on my list of like bioactive rough green enclosure. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And people have actually had success with those too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I would be down to get a pair and try and see if I could get those to reproduce. I think babies would probably be a real pain because those babies are tiny. You want to talk about small babies? Like, oh my god! Like,
I'm sure. I don't know if you guys know of Garden State Tortoise up in Jersey, but they produced some, I think, last year. Nice. And so I was looking at those, but I don't even know if they sell those. But I don't know. It'd be cool to get captive bred ones because then you'd surely have success with those as long as they were started before you got them. But,
yeah, they're just a fun species, man. They're just so cool, and that's one that I've heard in terms of UVB. That seems to be a species where it's almost like a necessity. Like you're not gonna do as well with them without it.
I would think black racers and coach whips would be similar. You know, I know coach whips are kept successfly in tubs, but I think those, you know, coach whips, green snakes, and racers are very diurnal species. You know, I've seen all those pretty much only in the middle of the freaking day, you know, just out and about. So it's one of those things. I think they thrive off that sun, you know. And
well, you have to think with greens too. They're not eating whole prey items. They're not getting all the same things you get from rodents. You know, they're dealing with insects that are none of the, you know, a lot of the things that mice have, they don't. So I think that plays a big part in it. But
garters too, I feel like really benefit from UVB. I keep UVB on all my garters as well, and they'll bask under it all day. So, which is pretty interesting. I guess, you know, they're eating worms and stuff, so it's the same thing. They're not getting all those nutrients. So,
yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
I've been tempted to try garters, man. I don't know. Garters have traditionally just never done a whole lot for me. Like the Lake Chapala ones, are freaking insane. Like, I'd be okay with, you know, 1 or 2 of those. But for the most part, I don't know. I mean, we have some here and we get some nice blue ones, but for the most part, they're kind of like that army drab green, and they're usually fairly prickish. So it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of.
Yeah.
I just never really caught that nature scene bug.
I was really planning on getting into some garters, but the feeding aspect kind of turned me off to them. I had a lot of people like send me pictures of like garters grabbing onto each other's heads, you know. And Nerodia grab food and run away, you know. They don't really try and steal. Sometimes if they're hungry, they'll get finicky, but they grab and then they go hide, and they normally don't fight for food. Garters fight for food, you know, and they're another species that thrives on being together, you know, communally. And I've come to the terms I'm not a communal keeper. I don't like keeping snakes together. It is not my cup of tea. So I've kind of leaned away from that. I'm going to try Nerodia on singles, hopefully, and alone, but I have some big plans for those, but we'll see.
Did you separate your Nerodia?
Not yet. I have a couple singles, a couple males that are by themselves. Other than that, everything else is in twos.
Yeah.
But I think soon I may separate some, especially the ponchtulas may stay together because they're doing fine. But I've got some bandeds that I think the females are chubbing a little too much on the food. So I need to make sure the male is getting sufficient, nutrients.
Ponchatulas.
Yeah, those things are freaking animals.
Yeah.
Man. They're crazy. They're crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, they're fun. They've got some personality. I've got, oh man, quite a few, 4 or 5, I think. 5 ponchatulas now. 1.4. Wow. It's either 1.4 or 2.3. I'm not totally sure, but we're working on them.
So on the subject of setups, I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta talk about this because this is just insane.
Yep, that's the concrete one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, see, that's like, you see the pictures, it's hard to tell exactly what size, like for reference. I mean, you have the stat or the temp gun, I think it is right there hanging out, but like that looks freaking sweet, man.
So what setup awesome. Did you say that was?
That's for my Jag carpet python. So when I was
that's the concrete one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So when I was flipping through the complete carpet python, I kept seeing these pictures of Queensland, and you think of Australia and you think of like the Universal Rocks background with like red rocks and stuff, but a lot of their stuff looks like here or like in the mountains in South Carolina just with palm trees. The rock is that color. So I really wanted to try to do that or replicate that side of Australia rather than, like the red rocks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really what it was aimed after. But yeah, that was right after I completed it. So it looks a little bit different now. There was live plants in there. The live plants were a no-go. I think for live plants and a carpet python of that size, it's got to be, it's got to be a big
size appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
More like a small tree.
Yeah. Do a ficus tree in there for sure.
Yeah.
But so I've just got some fake plants in there now. But it still looks pretty much like that. So
very nice. Looks fantastic, man.
That was a fun one to build for sure. That one actually didn't take me that long. I think it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to do to completion. But
how did you do the concrete? How do you get that to sort of stay attached to the walls of the cage and sort of the structure of it?
So there's chicken wire underneath of there. So I carved out like the foam to be sort of the shape I wanted. And then I put chicken wire all over the top and then like stapled that in. And then went ahead and applied concrete on top of that and then sort of carved the concrete the way I wanted it to be. So there's like probably 100 pounds of concrete in there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
what's the cage made out of? PVC or wood?
That's wood. Yep.
Okay.
And then I did dry lock on top of that. So
gotcha.
Which is sort of what I'm doing on the Cayman enclosure now. Just wood with dry lock. So because I feel like the dry lock sort of maintains it long enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not trying for anything that's going to last me 40 years here yet because I'm probably going to move soon. So, or not soon, hopefully not soon. I just moved here, but relatively soon, so yeah.
Right on, man.
So something else I noticed too that I wanted to talk about was the fact that you have you're keeping balls in sort of a naturalistic-ish sort of setup. Like, do you notice, have you kept them sort of in the traditional simple way of how a lot of people do it? And did you notice any major difference in how the animal behaved as a result?
Yeah, definitely. So I had balls and racks for a long time. And they're so much more active in an enclosure. And I'm not anti-rack at all. I keep a couple of snakes and racks, and I think it's fine when it suits it. But I really like looking at my balls. They're super. That sounds.
I was going to say, oh, do you now?
Oh, we all.
But no, they're super active. They're always out cruising. They're cohabbed. So that's a female pastel. And then I've got the male that I've had for like 13 years who lives in there with her. And they bred for me last year in there. And I actually was going to let her maternally incubate. I removed him and put him in a rack and was going to let her maternally incubate. But I got scared, got cold feet. Like
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they love it. They interact with each other. I've gotten a couple of comments about cohabbing them, but
Of course you did.
yeah.
Yeah. See, that's here's a little mini rant real quick. This is sort of my gripe with the whole anti-rack like crowd. Okay, it's like you put them in a setup like that, they're still going to find something to complain about. Like there's always going to be something wrong. Like that is my main. So it's I'm at a point now where I'm like, if you don't like it, sorry, too bad.
Yep.
My Jance and I are cohabbed. They do fine. You know, like I don't cohab a lot of stuff myself, but it's one of those things where it's like you have people telling you, oh, racks are bad, shouldn't keep them in there. Yeah, people saying you need to keep them in a naturalistic or Vivaria, whatever you want to call it. You got 2 snakes, and oh no, you can't do that. It's got to be a single.
Yeah,
and then it's like you could give them like one of those 8-foot black spot cages or something and have it decked out like that, and they'd still find something to complain about. Like there is no pleasing that crowd.
No,
it's just not going to happen. And so it's like, why bother? Don't bother. Keep them the way you want to keep them. You know, as long as the animals are healthy, you're not having any issues. You know, like what? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, what difference does it make?
And that's the thing, man. From like keeping colubrids and like talking to a lot of people, I've figured out there's a lot of ways to skin a cat when it comes to keeping things, you know. And it's not just with colubrids, you know. I know a ton of people that cohab rat snakes all day. What's the difference from some of the other stuff? You know, why is that so much different? I had a buddy. I'm not saying I would do this, but I had a buddy that was keeping a Nicaraguan boa and a Colombian rainbow boa in the same enclosure for months. For months, they were completely fine, you know, and the animals were healthy. And yeah, I'm not saying I would do it, but that just went to show that like it's not the end of the world if people cohab things, you know. It's not the end of the world, if you keep in racks, there's so many ways to keep these things successfully. And like Justin said, at the end of the day, if your animals are healthy, your animals are healthy.
See, it's a little different though when you have something like that, and not saying that this is the case, but if it's one of those things where it's like, well, I didn't have enough money for a cage for this, so I just had to put them together. It's like, hey, then there's a bigger issue there than keeping animals in boxes, you know?
Right, right.
But did you watch that Dave Kaufman?
Not yet. It's on my list for Saturday. I'm taking a train up to Raleigh, so I figured that's a good time to watch it. But I'm super excited for that.
I watched it. It was really good. It was interesting to see the true like natural history aspect of that species and seeing the landscape and the habitat they're coming from, and even the differences between Benin and Togo and Ghana. Yep. And I liked it. I think if anybody hasn't seen it yet, you should check it out. I think it's going to make the anti-rack people have an aneurysm. I do have my complaints about it. I figured me and Phil will talk about that Monday. I think Phil watched it. I don't know if he has yet or not, but overall, I think it's definitely worth watching. I think it's awesome that Dave took the time and resources and stuff to go over there and actually do it. And considering that he was really there not that long ago, to be able to crank out that whole thing and have it edited and up was really impressive. Yeah. Because I'm sure there's a ton of footage that we just didn't see, Yeah. But just like with all the other videos he's done where he's going to the actual habitat of these things and looking at, data and stuff like that, I think it's awesome. And, it's cool to see, like I said, the natural history aspect of balls, because as we know them, we almost forget that that's even a part of them. Like that's even an aspect to them. But
there are wild ball pythons out there.
To see them though, like see the habitat, see how they're finding them, see just the bigger picture. It's like, okay, that I have an interest in. That's really cool. Like that I don't have any, that I'm down with. It's the morphs stuff that I just can't keep up with and all that other stuff. So like when you said you had a pastel, I was like, finally a morph I'm familiar with. Yeah. It's worth watching. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I definitely got lucky that I got not as super into them as I was before I started buying, crazy morphs or anything like that. But yeah, I remember trying to set up a naturalistic style ball python habitat maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and just trying to Google like habitat from over there, and there's nothing. Like you can't find anything about where they're from. Or
The natural habitat was a
Yeah.
32 quart tub.
Yeah. So I'm like trying to set up a grassland because that's all you hear. You're like, oh, they live in a grassland, but that's it. So
See,
it's
and
gonna
even
be
then,
cool.
though, it's not the sort of the grassland that we picture as Africa. Like, I feel like people think of grassland and they think of like savannas, you know, like
Mhm.
much lower on the continent, you know, like with the zebras and the lions and the what you see on National Geographic and stuff like that. And it's definitely not that in the, you know, in what Dave showed. You know, some of it didn't look too dissimilar to sort of the stuff that we, you know, go and herp through and stuff like that. You know, obviously it's considerably more tropical and there's, you know, this floor is completely different, but it was cool to see, like I said, the whole thing, you know, the bigger picture of that species. And you know, he had mentioned that the paper that came out, I guess at some point or another, that I was completely unfamiliar with and hadn't heard of, where they talk about finding ball pythons in trees and feeding on birds. Like that's apparently another section of, it was either Benin or Togo. I don't remember which one, but he talked about it, but he never showed it.
Gotcha.
And he talked about like he went to some of like the voodoo markets and stuff, and I think he spent a little too much time on those, and it would have been cool if he had been able to go to that spot where they were finding these more arboreal balls. But I mean, it is what it is. That's, you know, I can critique it all day. I'm not the one who went out there and did the work, but you know, it's worth checking out if you haven't checked it out yet. It's going to be interesting to hear what people's thoughts are on it, because it seems like I could see there being a lot of differing opinions and stuff on the overall sort of message of it and the, you know, the point. So
yeah, I'm super excited to check that out. The stuff he's doing for the reptile community is huge, man. Just going out there and showing people like where things actually live. I think it provides so much value that, you know, no one else is really doing. So especially in a video format. I mean, you can go and take pictures all day, but it just provides so much more context when you can see it in a full video, you know? So
yeah, I really like the Aki episode he did, and he did the same thing where he had his like hygrometer and temperature, and he was sticking it in like the burrows and getting the readings from that and the microclimates, you know, for that species and stuff. So it is awesome. I'm anxious to see what else he ends up doing as far as other species and stuff goes. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah, need him to do a dwarf cayman one. That'd be sick.
Yeah,
get down there in the Amazon. But
speaking of, how long have you had Kevin?
So Kevin, I got him 3 years ago. So he's just over 3 years old. You know, he's a tiny little gecko when I got him. So just over 3 years. He's like 3.5 feet now. So pretty solid sized animal. But
I was gonna say, last picture I saw of him, he looked pretty hefty.
Yeah, he's getting big, that's for sure. So definitely anxious to get him into his new enclosure. But he's a trig, so he's not the Coover's dwarf cayman, which is a little bit smaller. Yeah, there he is. So he's about 3.5 feet there.
Looks happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the common question. Everyone goes like, does he like you? And I was like, no, man.
Hell no.
No, he does not.
No. He's an apex predator who doesn't want to be messed with. So
he doesn't like anybody.
No. Yeah.
He likes food. That's about it.
He doesn't mind his turtle friend for now. So he's got an alligator snapping turtle living with him, but that's gonna change. Yeah. Well, they were both small for a long time, and now they're both in need of their own setup. So the alligator snapping turtle's going outside, and then Kevin's gonna stay inside. But
very cool.
Yeah, he's been a fun experience to have, that's for sure. I definitely don't think they're for everyone. I think especially being in South Carolina, they're I think far too common. Just at Repticon and stuff. Luckily at Columbia you can't sell crocodilians anymore, so that's good. But it's just like a whole nother level, man. Like it's so much commitment, and you got to stay on top of laws and all kinds of stuff, because the hammer could drop at any minute, and you got to change what you're doing. So
Dude,
So-
I'm not gonna name names, but we had a local guy here with a shop that was trying to sell these things to schools.
I know
Like,
exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
It's not pleasant. It's not. This isn't a leopard gecko. That's a
No.
classroom pet. This is a crocodilian. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
And honestly, even an alligator would be better. Like these caiman are they're so fast and they stay at that size. Like 3 foot to like 6 foot is like the worst size for a crocodilian because they're just they're so quick. They can
They
get
still have
you.
size, but they can still move.
Yeah.
They're big enough to put a hurting on you, but small enough to reach around and grab their tail if they wanted to. That's tight. That's hard to maneuver, man. That's really difficult.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I've heard, I don't have experience with the cougars, but I've heard that the cougars are better. But the trigs are just, they get big, like they're the same size as a spectacled caiman, full grown. They're not really that small. So
Yeah.
they get pretty big.
So having him now though, and looking back, has your sort of initial idea of what keeping them would be like, has that changed?
No, I think I was like pretty prepared for what I was getting into. I've wanted one for maybe 8 or 9 years before I actually got them. So, I was reading research papers. I was reading a ton of stuff. I think looking back, I definitely would have waited and tried to get a cougars instead, just because, the difference between a 4-foot crocodilian and a 6 foot is pretty large.
That's substantial. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's, I definitely think that those make better captives. Not that either of them make great ones, but yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, man, that's the difference between a small child and a full grown man. Like that's, look at an 11-year-old and then look at you. Like there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you think about it, it's so close, but it's really not. I mean,
it's not at all. It sounds like it is, but it's really not.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, they are a species that we see for sale a lot, and I think a very large majority of people that buy them
not prepared,
likely are not prepared for what they're signing up for. Because I've even seen some on Craigslist, and I can guarantee that was like, oh, look at the little caiman, we'll get it and it'll be awesome. And then as it continues to not chill out and continues to really be a handful, they're like, okay, this isn't as fun. It's like Scrubs. This isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
They're cute. They're cute and shit as babies. And, it's one thing when they're snappy as babies, but once they hit that size where it hurts, then it's like, this isn't really fun anymore. When they're, 9 inches long and sitting on top of the water, all floating, all cool and cute, then it's awesome, but you got
it's one of those things. If someone's prepared and they've done, they've looked into it and they've done plenty of reading to know exactly what they're getting into, and they still go forward with it and they're successful, like that's awesome, fantastic.
That's extreme. I can only imagine it's extremely rewarding.
Sure, yeah. Because I think that's the benefit is people see them and they're like, oh, it's an alligator without all the bad parts of having an alligator, the size and the requirements and stuff. It's like I can get my fix. But it's when you have something shrunk down like that and it's still just high strung and just not cooperative, like doesn't want anything to do with you, like I can see where that would kind of get old, I would think, especially if you're dealing with multiple animals. Like if you just have one, that's one thing, but if you're like one of those people that just has 3 of them, 2 of them, whatever, it's like that's a lot.
Like it is nice because they're kind of shy, so they don't like come out of the enclosure too much. Like they're not trying to come at you when you you open the enclosure, which is pretty nice. But definitely like trying to I can't imagine trying to catch 2. Well, I can, but trying to catch 2 at one time. With both of them in the enclosure, I don't know. It's tough, and there's not a ton of information out there on this stuff. I know you guys did an article on them for the magazine at one point.
Yeah, that was Travis de Lagerheim, which I've talked to him about having a whole episode on dwarfs. We just haven't made it happen yet. Schedules haven't happened because he's like,
and I would love to
when I wanted to do that episode, he's he's a really good person to have for that, because he's he's got a like adult. I think he may even have more than one, but he's got them in like big devoted setups. He's not like he's not cutting corners or anything like that, and he knows like he's seen from baby to adult, sort of what you can expect. And, he's got a lot more experience with them over years and years and stuff, to where I trust his judgment on things and what he would recommend and stuff like that. Cause so he's on the list. We're going to make it happen at some point. Just got to pin him down.
Yeah, no, that would be sweet. I would listen to the shit out of that. That'd be sick. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. It's, South Carolina is one of those states where it's, it's a free for all except for, native turtles. But
for now,
of all things,
yeah, yeah.
Oh
so,
man, yeah.
I don't know. I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, like crocodilian related groups, and I mean the majority of those posts. I joined these groups trying to meet some people, get some information, and I would say 97% of the posts are people who get them and they're like, can I keep this in a 20-gallon long and will it shrink or fit?
It won't let me hold me. It won't let me hold it.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. And there's people, there's people on Instagram who have them and they're like tame or whatever. And people think that you can do that. But the imported ones, you're definitely not going to get that out of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people breeding them. I don't know if they're people breeding trigs, but palps, you can definitely get captive bred. And if you're going to get one, that's where I would go is, captive bred one. Especially a Cougars, that you could probably get that one to be pretty tame. I know Nerd's got a couple that are pretty docile, but I also don't think that like is what attracted me to crocodilians. Like I don't own him in purpose of like having him like lay on my stomach while I'm watching TV
right. And I don't think a lot of like people that are truly devoted to him, I don't think that's their intention either. Like they know full well that that's not likely not going to be the case.
Like let's be real, it's nice if you can work them. Like that's always it's always ideal if you can work an animal and they be pleasant, but realistically if you're getting into crocodilians
and you're wanting a beardy,
you have to go into the mindset things could take your finger off one day. Like be honest with yourself, like and if you're dealing with some of the ones you have, could take your whole hand. Like it's not a joke. A 6 foot croc is not. It's not something to play with. Like
he's super interesting though. He's they're super smart. I haven't interacted with very many monitors, but I mean the difference between them and monitors is you get a lot of reaction from them, right? Liz, they're like they're checking you out.
I feel like you can see the gears turning with monitors a little better. Like with crocodilians, like they're totally there and aware of what's going on, but you don't see the, like you said, that reactionary of like movement. They're watching it. With crocs, it seems like it's much more of like I can see what's going on in my peripherals and like what's happening. I'm just not going to move.
I mean, if you think about it though, as far as predator wise though, monitors, they go after, they chase. Pretty much all crocodilians are a lie in wait, like pounce type of deal. So it's like they're making those gears are turning just in a different way. Monitors are a very visual animal and they'll go after stuff, but crocs, they wait for it. Obviously I know they'll swim towards stuff, like we've all seen that, but what I mean, like
and honestly, like I feel like they're very trainable. Like Kevin's I've been working with him a lot, so we've got him on target training. He'll hold for me now, open his mouth and stuff like that. So that's been pretty cool. It always like regresses after I catch him because then he doesn't trust me for about a month. But it's also interesting because he very clearly knows who I am versus other people. Like he will not come up, he won't eat in front of other people. He'll only eat in front of me.
Wow.
Because that was, I was like, oh, I'll feed my caiman in front of you. And, when I have friends over.
Like, no, you won't.
You thought.
Yeah. But that's probably been my favorite thing working with him recently is just getting into the training side of things and talking to a couple of people who've been successful in training them.
How long did it take for him to really catch on to that? Because I think Cody and P have done it with the Morlets, and it sounds like they picked up on it pretty quick. I mean, was your experience similar?
Yeah, it was probably about a month. I would say from what I've heard also is, trigs are a lot more cautious, so they take a little bit longer, not because they don't recognize what's going on, they just like don't want to do it for you, or you know, they're much more willing to forego food to avoid you. So yeah, but it was pretty, I mean, about a month. So for the first thing for target training, and then after target training, I just went from each thing. And you know, if he didn't sit still, I wasn't going to give him food. So you just got to be prepared to not give food. You know, a lot of people just be like, oh, whatever, I'll just feed you anyway. And you got to make sure that you don't feed him unless he does what you ask him to do. So
what's his what's his diet mostly consist of? You know, rodents, or you know, a mix of things.
A lot of things. So I feed a lot of fish, a lot of rodents. He was eating chicks for a while, but for some reason he really got off of chicks. He does not. He'll take it, hold it, and then he's like, wow. I don't like it. He'll spit it out.
That's surprising. Wow.
Yeah, which is super interesting too, because you know, he eats quail. He loves quail, but he doesn't like chicks. So I don't know if he knows that they're like lower quality or something, but he's a bougie
get this great value trash out of my mouth.
Yeah. I haven't tried like actual like drumsticks or anything yet, just because he's a little bit too small for some of those things. But I think definitely in the future that's going to be.
You do anything like shrimp or anything like that?
Yep. A lot of shrimp. I try to get like head-on shrimp, so it's got like everything in there. A lot of tilapia, frozen silver sides. Those are expensive though, because you can only really get them at like pet stores or something. But
yeah, and tilapia is easy, man. Oof.
Yeah. I just have to dust that a lot more because there's, you know, it's just meat.
Right. There's not a lot to it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the fish oil is good for them, just health wise. I know it's really good for the alligator snapping turtle. He, you know, his skin, you know, if I switch from feeding him more to pellets to fish, you can notice this like big difference in his skin. He'll like shed it all off and it'll look like a lot better. So I guess the fish oils or something do something for them. But
that's another one. Bill Bradley keeps tempting me with he has one that's, I think he said, about the size of the palm of his hand. He's like, man, he's like, it's yours if you want it. And I'm like, I want it, but I just like, it's going to be something that like my child or my grandchildren will inherit. Like, and then B, it's like, okay, when it gets big, it needs something that's big.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, so it's
like,
it's
honestly
so tough. But at the same time, it's like I probably have like 60 years before we get to that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like I got time, so I don't know. They're so cool. Like, it's so tempting.
Besides the growth rate, though, I mean, if you look at something like an alligator snapper, it's not far off of keeping, you know, a small, you know, caiman, you know, maybe not something 6 foot, but something more like a Culver's, you know, like it's not far off, you know, for a big snapper. I mean, they need that space because they get monstrous.
I don't think,
man.
though,
they
I think like
huge.
The monstrously huge ones, though, like those are almost in kind of the exception, because in talking to Bill, he kind of made it sound like he's like, yeah, they get big, but like the huge ones you see at zoos and stuff that are like 1 million years old, he's like, it's almost like seeing that monster coastal, you know. It's like okay, people expect me to get this big, but most of the time they don't. So I don't know, like I haven't had turtles in a really long time either. I kind of swore turtles off a long time ago, but ASTs are a little different because they're not like the painteds and the the other stuff I had that's like change the water every 3 days because it just gets so gross so quick, you know. I don't know.
I've always loved, you know, snapping turtles, man, especially alligators. You know, my dream one day is honestly to have, like, you know, when I have a big reptile room, have 2 spaces dedicated to a caiman and an alligator snapper, you know, because those are the 2 more aquatic things that I'm really fascinated with. I think they're amazing, but I am nowhere near the point of having either one. So, you know, that's a very long-term thing, but they are so amazing to me. They're incredible.
What's your feeding like for the alligator snapper? You kind of give him similar offerings that you do the caiman?
Yeah, he gets less rodents. I maybe feed him a rodent like once every 2 weeks, just because they can get like really fat really quickly, because they don't move a ton. But a lot of pellets and a lot of fish. He loves like Zoom Ed turtle pellets. And I honestly feed those a lot just because I've heard that in nature they're actually eating like a lot of acorns and nuts and plant material and stuff as well, as just meat. So try to round out his diet a little bit more. I also get frozen clams from like fish stores, like clams on the half shell, and he loves those. And that's
do you
really
ever do live fish?
Yeah.
Do you ever see? Does he do the lure though when you do it?
He does. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so cool to see, man.
And he'll do it like even if there's not fish in there, he'll just sit there
really?
against the wall with his mouth open, which is really cool.
It's kind of like keeping chondros, like when they're ready for food because they just sit there and they start luring constantly.
Yeah, I try to stay away from fish just because all I can really get are rosies and goldfish, and they've got like the thiaminase in them, so I'm not trying to have any issues with that. I think I do it like probably once every 2 months or so. I'll feed them live fish, but I just try to supplement the tilapia as much as I can. A lot of it comes off when I put it in the water, but a little bit stays on there. So
we've got mud minnows here that you can get at the bait store.
Oh, nice.
That can survive in fresh water for a period of time. And those things are compared to like goldfish and stuff. Those things are chunky, man. Those are fat little.
Dude,
fish.
we fish with mud minnows around here a lot. And I've got, you want to talk about some chunky mud minnows?
I mean, I think they're they're not like mullet, right? They're not like baby mullet.
No. They're completely
different. They're like mollies,
Molly, they would be more like a molly. They almost, Justin, I see where you're coming from with the mullet thing. They almost have a mullet type body.
Yeah.
Basically like a mullet and a molly had a baby, but it was bigger. It's bigger than a molly. I've gotten mud minnows like, that freaking big before, but I also get them, tiny. Yeah. So it just kind of depends. They're really good fishing bait. We catch them. You can catch them in the ditches out here that lead to the marshes. They're neat little fish. But yeah, they can survive a lot. Like 20 casts.
They can take a beating.
They're wild. Yeah, they can take a beating. That would be interesting to try and feed some of those too.
You should see if get some and get some frozen ones and cut them up and see if the Nerodia take them.
I've never seen mud minnows frozen. Those aren't really ones that you buy.
That's why
frozen.
You buy some and you freeze them.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could do that. But see, I don't know if they would eat like a salty fish, because I did when I was early keeping them. I was being dumb and I tried to offer them some fish that were naturally saltwater and they wanted nothing to do with it. But the tilapia, boy, they crush tilapia. They love it.
See, that makes me wonder if the salt marsh snakes will take something like that.
I bet you they would. I bet you salt marsh snakes would destroy mud minnows. Yeah.
That's something I thought about.
Even fiddler crabs.
Maybe. That's actually a good point.
Interesting.
I worry about digesting those though.
Oh, with the exoskeleton and stuff?
Yeah. The hard exterior, that might be. I don't know. It takes a specific animal to eat, whole crabs.
I think if something can digest bone, it can digest chitin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Just a lot, though.
Worry about the pincher on that thing.
You can get the females. The females have like really tiny ones that are almost pointless. Useless.
I wouldn't try it, but I would be interested to see it, like to see if like they were either hanging around a bunch of crabs or something like that, I don't think I would go on a limb. Yeah. I wouldn't go out on a limb and give it a shot, but I would. It is an interesting thought, and even things like, with the salt marsh stuff, even things like, some of the slugs that you get around, some of the, salty leafy areas, could eat things like that, but who knows?
Yeah, that's something I thought about though, is like the salty fish, feeding that to reptiles, if that has any impact of them like eating something with so much salt content in it, or if it even does have a lot of salt content in it.
Yeah,
I don't know if
what's possibility for dehydration or something as a result.
Yeah. So I definitely feed saltwater like fillets of stuff that I get at the supermarket to Kevin, but I try not to do that on like a regular basis just because I don't know what the impact of that would be long term.
But I mean, realistically, and this is speaking from, somebody in the low country of South Carolina, where I find my area that I find a lot of water snakes is technically brackish.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can catch redfish in the same waters that I've caught Nerodia near. So, there is the opportunity. We don't have, obviously in the freshwater ponds, you get them all over the place. But, the roads that I cruise all run brackish water. And I have found more Nerodia than you can shake a stick at, in those waters. So,
yeah. And the alligators are feeding on stuff out there in the estuaries and stuff. So they're the same as far as their ability to process salt as the caimans. So it could definitely be interesting. And I know for a fact that specs like in Central and South America are living in the same habitat, brackish into freshwater. So
So what's, as far as Kevin, I mean, what's been the biggest hurdle, and then what's been sort of the most rewarding part about keeping them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest hurdle is just figuring out the right space to build the enclosure. The enclosure I'm working on now is like 8 foot by 8 foot.
Nice.
So
That's
I've
awesome.
seen the video updates on that. That's been cool to watch.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's been. I feel like you start on something like that. Like I was saying earlier with the the enclosures, that you always expect less time than it's actually going to take. But this one, I really thought I had an accurate estimate on how long it was going to take me and how much I was going to need for it. And it's just far beyond. It's such a huge project, but definitely enjoying doing it. And that's the kind of thing I like doing, building stuff. So that's been super fun. And as long as you take it section by section, it's not that bad. And that's what I tried to do with this previous enclosure, is just build it in multiple sections. So, if I move, I can take it apart, go to the next place, and
that's smart.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. But yeah, I think that's definitely the biggest hurdle, is just finding the space, because it's a lot of space that I in some cases I'm like, damn, I could have so many snakes in this area. I could have bought so many snakes by now for the amount of money I'm spending on the enclosure. But it's definitely worth it. Like I was saying earlier, I would trade all my snakes for crocodilians if I could have them, but just don't have the space right now. So that thing, when it's done, it's going to be sweet. I'm hoping to have like full live plants in there, do a watering system out of his pond, and all that, so I don't have to get in there and water it all the time, because that would stress him out. So it's going to be super cool. But and then most rewarding, I'd say, is just being able to interact with them and train them and see them learning each time. Like every feeding session I do with them, I'm doing some sort of training, and just seeing him get better with it every time. And there are definitely times where he regresses and he's like, no, I'm not doing that today, just like a dog would or something like that. So you just got to kind of expect that and not get discouraged and just keep going with that. But that's been probably my favorite part, is just seeing him improve and get more used to me and stuff like that. So, and then also just like getting comfortable with handling crocodilians like that, because I don't particularly have any training. I've watched a ton of videos on how to do it, but definitely would like to go to St. Augustine does a yearly crocodilian training course every year for mostly AZA professionals. Yeah, but they also have a non-AZA fee. It's definitely like way more expensive, but definitely something I'm going to try to do in the future, just because I don't want to stop with Kevin. I want to get more crocodilians when I have like a actual facility to actually house them. But definitely that's going to be something I do in the future for sure.
That would be awesome, man.
Yeah.
Actually, our buddy Riley Jemison, when he was working in the zoo field, he actually went and did that course.
Yeah.
And, that's right. He did, didn't he?
Yeah. It was that was really interesting. Because he actually did that while we were doing Carpet Fest. So he was in Florida at the same time that we were. Wow. But he was there for school, and man, he would be a good person to talk to about it. Yeah, he was. He loved it. So if you're interested in that, he'd be a good person to talk to. Yeah,
I'll definitely have to reach out to him about that. Those people there are like that's the cream of the crop. That's
absolutely.
Probably the best in the world there. So
need to get down there again. It's been a handful of years since I've been to the alligator farm.
Yeah, I went in.
There's usually a group that tries to go before Daytona.
Yeah.
I think
I was
Jeff and
going to try
Kendra
to
went
go
last
after
year.
this year, but I just timing wise, that drive is longer than I expected it to be. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far is it from you guys? Like 4 hours?
3.5.
Okay.
No, it's 3.5 on a long
Okay,
drive.
3.5.
You can probably make it in 3, to be honest.
He's a better judge than I am because he drives pretty much every year. So
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I've gone.
I drove last
several
year though,
times.
right? Because that
Yeah, you
piece of my
drove-
car
you
is on
drove
the
last
side
year.
of the highway somewhere down there.
Yeah, yeah. No, you drove last year, but I've gone for I've only missed one Daytona in the last. I think this will be 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Ish, I've only missed the one, and that was due to a bunch of crap that wasn't up to me.
I don't think Jake liked me driving because my car makes this really horrible noise when I drive. That sounds
Look,
like
man,
the wheels about to just pop off at any point
Okay,
in time.
first off, there's something wrong with your car.
It hasn't popped off yet. All right.
Yeah. Second off, everybody's driving stresses me out because I was in a really bad wreck. Like I was driving, but I was in a really bad wreck once, and it just kind of like
no
freaked
one else
me
can drive
out.
but him.
Yeah, it's not that I let other people drive, but you can ask my girlfriend, you can ask my best friend. I'm on edge if I'm.
It
in
doesn't
the
bother me
passenger
none
seat,
because I just
dude.
sit in the passenger seat and play on my phone and smoke cigars the entire way
I
down.
can't
So
tell you
whatever.
how many
It's like
times
driving
this
Miss
man
Daisy.
I can't tell you how many times this man has passed out on me on a long drive. It was, what was it, like 3, 4 in the morning? We were coming back from North Carolina. This dude is sound asleep while he's playing Joe Rogan podcast through my Jeep. And I'm just like dying, trying to keep my eyes open, going down the road to drop him off at home.
You could have woke me up, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Made
For
no
what?
effort.
You just fall back to sleep?
No, I wouldn't. I didn't know I fell asleep. I just woke up and we were back in town. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the
Sorry.
That
best
was a
feeling.
rough trip, man. That was a rough trip.
That was a rough trip. We had to leave Charlotte at like 10 o'clock at night because we were on the verge of getting stuck there because they had like snow coming or something.
Oh,
This was
man.
like what, January or something like that? Maybe
Yeah.
December?
It was either leave
maybe
at
February.
like 10 o'clock. Yeah, it was leave at 10 o'clock or get iced over the next
Possibly
morning.
get stranded there for the next 2 days. And
I wasn't about to drive through the ice. I don't have a lot of experience doing that. So off we went.
We get definitely more snow than you guys, but we have the same level of preparation that you do. So when it snows up here, man,
God,
it's
dude, that's terrible.
It's awful, man, and no one knows how to drive. It's bad. It's so bad.
I don't know, dude. The preparation around here, like our town shuts down if it snows.
Yeah.
Like people don't go to school, work gets closed, and then because I work for Public Works, I have to go take care of the ice, and I have to go drive to work at 6 a.m. to go try and dump salt all over crap so people don't bust their behinds. But yeah, it's hell whenever it snows.
I think you and I have talked previously about sort of the laws in South Carolina that have gone into effect and stuff. So as a fellow South Carolinian, what are your thoughts on the native herp laws that they've put in place?
Yeah, I understand why they did it. And I was actually talking to one of the guys from the TSA about it, and Jordan Gray, if you guys know who he is. But he was basically like, I love keeping turtles just as much as you do. Because obviously there's the 21-inch rule, but I feel like it didn't impact snakes as much as it did turtle keepers, and it just makes sense. So there's so much exportation of these turtles from South Carolina, and there was previous to this rule. And we have incredible turtles in the state. So I definitely want to protect them. If I can't work with certain species just because, the state needs to protect them, I guess that's something I'm willing to give up, but I don't know. It's interesting because it came out, and then, I've read the laws multiple times because I have a box turtle and a yellow belly slider. So that, there's restrictions there. You can only have 2 box turtles, and I don't know. The laws aren't super clearly written. Like I feel like
that's not an accident.
Yeah.
They got to have that wiggle room so that if they're like, we think you might be guilty, what do the rules say? That sounds guilty to me. Sure.
Let's decide if he's guilty.
Yeah. No, but I wasn't too upset about that one. I think it was, it was needed, at least for the turtles. I don't know why they put all the snakes on there. I don't think that there's necessarily a reason.
Who knows?
But
because the issue is like, yeah, we did it to protect turtles, but we were already talking about an illegal act, like a shady activity to begin with. It's like, are these laws really going to make a difference, or is it just going to make these guys go deeper underground?
Right. It's the same thing that happened in North Carolina after this Cobra incident, right? Is they were like all up in arms, we need new laws. And
knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. And the kid was already breaking the laws that were, in place currently. So it's like, why add more laws to it? It's just more to enforce. Yeah. Let's just enforce the ones we have currently. So I don't know.
That dude was the perfect example of ruining it for everybody else. And that's why we preach what we do so hard. It's like one person can make all the difference,
Yeah. I think it would be nice to have some sort of regulation or at least permit system, at least for crocodilians and venomous snakes in South Carolina. I would just hope that, we were the ones to put it in place rather than lawmakers who don't really know what's what or what the deal is.
Yeah.
It worries me, keeping crocodilians, that they could just ban it tomorrow, because there's nothing in place. And I also think that there, like we were talking earlier, not everyone should have Cayman or, something like that. And it feels hypocritical for me to say because I own one, but if there was a permit system in place similar to, what they have in Florida currently for crocodilians and venomous snakes, I think it would be, helpful and at least have more oversight in it. I don't know. It just worries me every time I go to Columbia Repticon and I'm like, there's all those venomous snakes and they've got bird netting over it. And it's like, what if a kid hits a cage or something? And it's just an accident waiting to happen in my opinion. But
yeah, I think I've always felt like that, at least with venomous snakes in South Carolina. I think it's bad that, in Florida, you have to have 1,000 hours per whatnot.
Per family.
Per family.
Yep.
And then here you have to have an ID that says you're 18. And a lot of times you don't even need that.
Yeah.
It's sad. When I went to a Columbia show and I was barely over 18 and you had to sign in to go into the venomous section. And the dude looks at us and he goes, yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Over 18, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, and I know I still look like I'm freaking 16, so it's like I don't know, dude. It pains me sometimes. It's like how little people care, and
it's that constant worry of sort of what's happening in Florida, where it's like the whole legislative process of listening to people and hearing them out and not having your mind made up going into something like that. What happened in Florida is fortunately it didn't go through, but that whole scenario of FDPC is just going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Regardless of how we feel, regardless of how many people show up, that's my biggest fear with the South Carolina stuff. It seems like so far that hasn't been an issue. There have been legislators that have been open to hearing the real perspective of what it's all about and what it's like, instead of just the sort of the fear mongering. Someone's in your ear saying, this is horrible. Okay, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it's that fine line of we're open to having something in place, but it's you're going to hold up your end of the deal, right? You're not going to screw us, right? And they're like, oh yeah. And then it's come time for the pen to go to the paper. It's like, just kidding.
Yeah.
It's well, what the hell happened, man? What happened to the whole months of conversation that just went on? It's that's my biggest fear. And I know that's the biggest fear for a lot of other people, is thinking we're making headway and thinking we're having some sort of, dare I say, common sense legislation, and then it just getting pulled out from under us like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And I know the native reptile thing. I'm with you as far as the snakes and everything outside of turtles. Alligators already had regulations in place in terms of you could buy captive bred, I think, without any sort of permit. But as far as catching or messing with wild alligators is 100% illegal.
You can't own them unless you have a permit in South Carolina. I think it's mostly for farming, but Yeah.
But I think, everything else, like I said, outside of turtles, which, as I said before, it's like, is that really going to stop anything, or is that really just going to make things go darker on that shady side of the the aisle, or whatever you want to call it? Native snakes, I mean, we've talked about that in the past too. Like, it didn't really bother me that much because, like I said, we're not going out and catching every adult snake we can to sell. You find a baby, cool, but like adult animals that have survived Darwinism and are passing on those genes, like, I like to leave those there. And so it's kind of silly. Like I said, I'm curious myself as far as why everything was just sort of thrown in, because it didn't seem to have much of a reason. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't see a ton of wild caught stuff sold at like the Columbia show. I mean, I haven't been in a while, but even then you'd see like one or two tables with some clearly wild caught stuff with just some hicks that went and caught whatever they could find in their backyard, threw it in deli cups, and they're like, $25 for a copperhead, whatever. Yeah. So I don't see that really as a thing anymore. And with corn snakes especially, and I know Morph's got the exception, but it's like, aside from nerds like me that like the locality stuff, I don't see the demand for wild caught adult corns that are all parasite ridden and gross. Like, what? Clearly, no one told them that there's just not a market for those. Like, what are we doing?
But that's the thing. I think at a place like Columbia, there is, and that's just me being honest, because at Columbia you get a lot of different folks. And a lot of those folks see a $25 snake in a deli and they say, "Ooh, I have $25."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not knowing that was a corn snake literally plucked out of the parking lot, 20 minutes ago. That's at least that's how I look at it. And I see a lot of Nerodia like that, like it was funny. Somebody I got some captive bred bandits from Montrose last Daytona. And somebody saw me looking at them. They're like, "Oh, we see those in our yard all the time." And I'm like, "No, those were at the other table that were $25 a piece."
Yeah, because I was like, "Jake, go get some, man." I was like, "They're like $20 a piece or something like that." I was like, "Grab a couple," and he's like, "No, man."
Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
He got all uppity on me.
They're just a bunch of. They literally saw a group of babies and plucked them all out of the ditch and threw them in a deli.
No, they plucked them out of mom and threw them in a deli. There's a difference. They plucked mom out of the ditch and then plucked all the babies out of mom and put them in a deli. Okay, they're captive hatched.
Captive hatched. Yeah. I just can't see that. I can't. It having a huge impact on the the environment for it to be an issue. I don't know, but we have so many other issues that are, development, I think, is number one. There's so many houses being built down here. Everyone keeps moving down.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know about up there, but down here, man, it's like subdivisions and construction are the happening thing right now. Yeah. And it's depressing. Like, Jake, you've seen it over on your side of town, like across from Walmart, just the gigantic plot they just cleared for like, what I think like an Aldi's and some other stupid crap we don't need.
It's a shopping center. Like, did you have to realize I inspect construction sites for a living for
you see it more than anybody else.
Controls. Yeah. I have right now myself. This is just me as one inspector. We have 3. I manage 294 sites, currently active construction sites. 6 of those being big commercial sites. One's a new school, a couple tennis courts and all that crap. Yeah. But there's 280 something of those are single family developments that are taking out trees and building houses and all of these. And it's insane, man. And our other inspector has over 200, and then another inspector has about 150 to 200. That's insane, and that's just within our county. That's not including city limits. That's not including the different municipalities, which Beaufort County makes up several municipalities: the county municipality, Port Royal, the city, and then Bluffton, or the town of Bluffton. And I don't do anything in those areas, but I know they all have their own stuff.
Well, it's also getting so packed now that they're going to start moving towards like Jasper and sort of the in-between area between North Beaufort and South Beaufort.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of land that isn't developed there, but I feel like within the next probably 5 to 10 years, it's a lot of that's probably going to be gone. Is that everything just has to move out because they're literally running out of space. Like it's just going to have to start spreading out.
Justin, I know you probably haven't seen it because you don't go out that way, but you know where Well Branch Middle School is?
Yeah, that subdivision they're building out there.
Yeah, they're building an entire subdivision right across the street from that now, and that's just kind of out in the boonies, that really wasn't
that is out in the middle
there.
of nowhere.
And now they're building an entire subdivision in there. They took out so much, so many trees.
And we were talking about that the other day when we were road cruising. It's like when they do that kind of stuff where they clear things out for subdivisions and start building, it's like, how long do those animals that are living in that area, like herps in particular, like how long do they stick around before they start just moving out or just flat out dying or
getting killed?
It's like, where do they all go? Because I mean, we see these subdivisions. I don't see a bunch of roadkill animals, DOR stuff. So it's like, what happens? Like, where are they all going?
And I think a lot of them, to be honest, are getting killed in the construction process.
You think so?
To be honest, yeah. I think the equipment that goes into taking out trees is massive. And I know there's no way that they see some of the stuff that they are destroying in the process of taking out all these trees, and it's sad because like on these construction sites, like, yes, we have a lot of tree protection. Beaufort County does all they can to protect as many trees as possible, but it's very minute in comparison.
Yeah, if it's like not a live oak, they're not. It's going.
Yeah, if it's a pine tree less than 21 inches, it's not a specimen tree. Anything over 21 inches is considered a specimen tree, and you save as many of those as possible. But anything under 21, it's out. It's a trash tree, and so they take all those out. But the amount, like a track hoe capable of pulling entire trees out, it's massive. And the guys operating those things are trying to get in and out. They're destroying anything in their path. It doesn't matter.
It's just like an Avatar with the giant bulldozers going for the mother tree or whatever it was called.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm sure those guys who are actually like in there, if they see a snake, they're probably gonna kill it or something.
All those guys are terrified of snakes, man.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I've never met one guy on a job site that would not kill a snake if they see him. That's why anytime, because silt fence will basically keep snakes running, along the line. I can tell you how many snakes I've seen going over silt fence, running along it. So I pick them up and move them as far away as I can without anybody seeing me. And I pulled a copperhead off a site one time. I threw it into a bucket real quick because I had some grabbers. And I threw it into a bucket. I was walking off. Somebody was like, "What is that?" I was like, "It's just a snake." "What kind of snake?" "It's a corn snake." And I threw it into the woods really quick.
Don't worry about
it. It's fine.
It's a garter snake.
Yeah, it's harmless.
Shut up and go back to tearing down trees.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do with this little South Carolina reptile display room that I've got in my basement. Is just trying to, I've got like one of my neighbors is a landscaper, and so he'll come down there and like look at all the snakes and be like, "Oh, I've seen that one." And now he calls me every time he sees a snake, and he's like, "What is this?" We had a copperhead in the neighborhood that he found, and he was like, "Come get this." So I'll go like remove the snake and let it go out in the woods for him. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
I talk about that South Carolina ID group a lot. And I was thinking about it today as I was flipping through because someone posted like a copperhead and there's been a couple cane breaks on there and stuff. I'm like, how many of these people are asking what they are? And then when they're told it's a copperhead, are just going and flatting out like killing it.
Yeah.
Or telling their neighbor who they're posting on their behalf for, like, "Oh, it's a copperhead." And like, I would
let's
think
be honest, a lot of times it's already dead.
Saving, there's probably
9 times out of 10 that snake's already dead when it's been posted.
But do you do much herping up there?
Yeah, I try to. Me and my buddy Zach have been going a lot recently, getting those Nerodia and stuff, and I try to do as much as I can. My roommate's got a farm down in Hampton, South Carolina, so we go down there a lot and go herping. There's a lot of timbers, copperheads.
Yeah, there's a lot of land out there. There's a good. I've never been herping out there, but that's a really rural area that is prime real estate for it.
Yeah, it's mostly just hunting grounds. So, off hunting season, there's like no one there. So we just get to roam around and look for snakes. A lot of plain belly water snakes, which those are like my favorite. So definitely want to find a little baby out there and bring that back. That would be really cool. But caught a lot of big ones out there for sure. And they're crazy because I feel like they're not supposed to like a lot of the other ones that I found there. I mean, you'll find them like way away from water. And even in the water that you'll find them in, it's not like a creek or a river. It's like barely flowing water. You know, it's little sandy creeks and stuff. So they're super interesting. I just love them. I think they're super cool the way they have like that slate gray and then the yellow belly and stuff. So those are probably my favorite to find.
I've never seen one around. I've seen plenty of bandeds, but I don't think I've seen any other species besides that, except for maybe like the one red belly that we cruised that one time out in your cruising area there, Jake. And even then, I don't think we saw it, or you saw it. It was small. I don't remember, but I've never seen one other than that.
Yeah,
they're super
red bellies. I've definitely seen more bandeds than red bellies, but man, we can get some really, really nice red bellies around here. I'm not talking the belly is just red. I'm talking the entire snake is red. You know, we get some really, really nice ones around here.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite to find. We found one a couple weeks ago under a board. Couple of black racers, and then one of those, a big female, was laying underneath of that. So I love catching those.
Yeah, man.
They seem calmer too than some of the bandits and the Midlands that we find up here, because those things are, you know, little balls of piss and fire. But I love them anyway. But yeah, we try to go up here a lot. It's tough up here because a lot of the places you go herping are like greenways, like in the city and stuff. Like on those Midlands is like, it's in Charlotte, like in downtown Charlotte. And so, you're like the weird person walking through the creek looking for snakes, and people are like, what's going on here? So, but definitely like further down from Rock Hill, like towards Chester and stuff like that, there's a lot of open land and undeveloped areas down there. So I definitely want to get out there and road cruise more. Kings Mountain is a good area for that, for sure. When I lived in Charleston, we went a lot out to Francis Marion National Forest. That place is sick, man.
I went to college right outside of Francis Marion National Forest.
Yeah. My buddy Gabe goes out there a lot.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's pristine South Carolina habitat. Like,
I've only driven through it. I've never actually stopped and done any walking around or anything like that. It is a really nice area.
Yeah, it's huge too. It's like, it's massive. You could get lost in there for sure. There were a couple of times when I was out there cruising by myself, and I was like, I don't necessarily feel super comfortable out here. You know, I don't know who's out here. So, but that was cool. We one time when we were out there, we cruised up on a big old alligator sitting in the road. So we, got out to look at it and weren't going to go close, and then it ran into the water, and then we started shining in the water there, and there was like 40 little babies, and I was like, this is insane. It's so cool. You can see all their little eyes and stuff. I don't know. I've seen a lot of alligators now, living in South Carolina for as long as I have now, and every single time I see one, it's so cool. There's just, I don't know, seeing something like that out in the wild is the coolest thing. But
well, man,
we take them for granted, man. Like, obviously, as a kid, I thought they were awesome. But as I get older, I try to, I have a better appreciation for them now, I think, because I see them and I'm like, man, that is just that's a design that hasn't changed in so long, because it works so well. And just the whole story behind them about how they were almost extinct at one point and they've made such a ridiculous comeback, and just it's just cool. Like, they're freaking dinosaurs, and we have them right here. Like, you go to any golf course down here, you're going to see them. Like, they're just, I think that it's just cool as hell.
Yeah, they pulled a 14-footer out of a pond at a mini golf course right outside my dad's house in Hilton Head.
I believe it.
Like, bro, that thing. I mean,
one of the biggest ones I've ever seen was in Sea Pines.
Yep. Yeah. Sea Pines has a lot. Yeah. Sea Pines is actually like a pretty good spot for herping. I mean, that's like one of like two in Hilton Head that you can actually go and find stuff. But we found a lot of cottonmouths out there, alligators, a ton of turtles. So,
have you been to you being around the Hilton Head area? Have you ever been to Picnic Colony Wildlife Refuge?
Yeah, man, that was the first place. Like, as a little kid, that I saw an alligator.
I've
That
never
was
been there
awesome.
either.
Dude,
Yeah.
awesome habitat. Justin, I'm telling you, we can find diamondbacks out there.
Well, I also
Yeah.
kind of avoid the greater Bluffton Hilton Head area.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy down there.
Yeah.
But man, Jack, whenever you're around Hampton, man, definitely hit me up, especially if it's prime herping time. I mean, that's a 40-minute drive, and that's not even to my best herping areas. You know, you're 25, maybe 30 minutes away from where I like to herp. So
Sweet.
come down. I'll definitely, we can do some road cruise, and I got some WMAs. There's one. Have you ever heard of Donnelly WMA?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been there, but the place has turned up more variety than I have ever found anywhere, from mud snakes to cottonmouths to garter snakes, corns, rats. It's a Rhodia. It's an incredible place. It's several thousand acres of just driving trails, and it's very cool. Very cool.
Let's get the golf cart and take it out there
for sure.
Come on, man. There's a lot of trails. I know the area like the back of my hand now, so it's very, very cool.
Can you take like 4-wheelers out there and stuff, or no?
No, I wouldn't think so, at least if you're not DNR, because it is a WMA, it's DNR ran. You have people who live out there. So I think if you're tearing through it on ATVs, maybe a golf cart if you trailered it out there, but there's really not like a good parking area for a trailer. I've never seen anybody do that. For me, I always drive.
Dude, let's get horses and do herping via horseback.
That'd be insane.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I pretty much drive the trails and I hop out wherever, I want to, but they have every habitat you can imagine, from wetlands to longleaf pine stands. And, obviously everybody knows I love my longleaf pine stand. So it's one of my favorite areas to herp.
He has yet to take me out there.
You have to. Dude, I have found the most beautiful canebrake you will ever see in your life out there. I have found several canebrakes from like this blonde gold to super black.
Yeah.
It's produced a lot.
Let's go Saturday.
Saturday, I don't know.
Can't Saturday. I'm busy.
I probably gotta do snakes. I'm going fishing. I'm going tarpon fishing tomorrow after work. So I'm gonna be busy. So that's gonna put my snake cleaning behind a day. So gotta see. Yeah, man, I'm down to go to Donnelly anytime. So if you're in the
except Saturday.
Hit me up. Well, I might be able to go Saturday. I'd rather herp Ladies Island, because I gotta find a rat snake on Ladies Island. But we're trying to give
it up, man. It's not gonna happen.
It is gonna happen. I was gonna ask if actually you wanted to meet early morning on Sunday to go.
How early is early?
Like right at or before sunrise.
Which is what time?
7 o'clock is sunrise, I believe.
I'll probably be up already, because I usually, even when I have my alarm off on the weekends, I still end up waking up at like 6:30, 6:45, which is when my alarm usually goes off anyways. So
I go to work at 6:30 and it's still dark, so I know it's around then. So I want to try some early mornings with the summer. It's definitely cooler in the mornings than it is at night. Try and hit some early morning walk-ins. Find
us some corals, man.
Yeah, that would be cool. That's still on the bucket list.
I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm making me another work shirt, but I'm making a coral snake the background. That's happening. I'm doing that, man.
Nice.
That'd be insane to see, girl. Somebody was just telling me the other day they almost like stepped on one when they were a kid, and I was like, that, of course, like you almost stepping on it is how you find it, and you're not really like into snakes.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we're out here looking for them, can't find them.
There's it's like Irwin's Law or something. Like there's got to be some sort of mythical force that causes that to happen.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny, man. You just see snakes wherever you least expect it. Like probably my favorite find to date was finding this like 6-foot mud snake. And I just spent hours like walking trails through wetlands, nothing. I get 20 feet from my truck and it's laid out in the middle of the path. And I'm like, what? But that's just how it works, man. The only Pituophis I've ever found was scurrying across a freaking parking lot. I've spent hours in the woods, never flipped or seen a pit, but I was in Texas going into a trail and there was one going across a parking lot, You know, it's just
There
funny
it
how
is.
you find those gems in the most like random places that you never would. But
Yeah.
at that
That's
time,
definitely on my South Carolina herping bucket list is pine. I don't even know if we have them anymore, but it'd be sick to see a pine. Francis Marion, I feel like would be the perfect spot for that.
Yeah, that would be the first place I'd go.
Yeah.
so I went on. So that's been on my bucket list to find a. Yeah, I want to find a pine snake here. I can cross Pituophis off my list, but I never found a pine. But I was on iNatural, and there's a spot near the Green Pond area. There's a road. It's funny. I was looking at this road, and I was like, let me look at this on iNat and see if anybody's seen anything. And literally on the road I was looking at, somebody popped up a pine snake that they found, and it's in the Green Pond area. So I'm like, yeah, we might have to roll through there, you know.
Yeah.
I would never post anything like that. If I found one of those, dude, I would never share that location.
Yeah. I don't know that I would ever post anything on iNat. I just like using it because then I can get a reference, but I'm not trying to tell people where I found something. For sure.
Especially that, man. Like your really nice corns and your pines, I don't really want to give locations on those, you know.
Yeah. It is nice how like worldwide iNat is though, because like I was in Aruba maybe like a couple months ago, and I was looking in there on iNat, and that, you know, they got the Aruba Island rattlesnake down there, and that's a dream for me to find. And there was like probably 40 or 50 listings of those, and I'm like, this is one of the most endangered snakes on the planet, and there's just like
right there.
Of it. Yeah. So did not find one. I went out at like 5 a.m. to try to find them. Did not, but yeah.
You don't need entertainment when you have Turkicus geckos in your garage.
We have them up here now.
Do you? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
These things are freaking everywhere. There was one on our bedroom window the other night, so they're spreading.
Yeah, spread like wildfire, man.
I mean, they're awesome. If you need something to scent with on the fly, you just grab one and freeze it, and boom.
Yeah, when I was in Charleston, I kept a couple of them just for fun. Then I was like, I don't want to keep geckos anymore, so let them back go. I mean, they're already out there, so yeah.
Very good, man. Well, we're approaching that 2-hour mark. So if people want to find you, talk to you, get a hold of you, where can people check you out?
Yeah, it's just @JackOliver_reptiles on Instagram. Pretty active on there. Don't really use Facebook or anything like that. So yeah, if you want to hit me up there, we talk caimans, Nerodia, garter snakes, whatever, carpet pythons. So yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. This has been a fun episode. Always love talking to a fellow South Carolinian, and especially like linking up, man. So like I said, if you're whenever you come,
dude, next time you're down this way, man, hit us up.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I'm tired of solo herping around Hilton Head.
Dude, yeah. I can't tell you how many lone road cruises I've had. It's
kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Till you find something, then it's good.
And it's fun. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes the road I cruise kind of freaks me out when I'm by myself because when it gets dark, it's dark.
Everything down here is haunted. That's the problem.
Yeah. It doesn't help that there's literally graveyard in the section of road that I love
from like the 1800s.
Like, please don't see a snake. Please don't see a snake. Please don't see a snake.
Don't make me get out. Yeah.
The possession of Jacob Bratz.
It's
He'll probably get possessed by some like spirit of like a 13-year-old girl or something.
That wouldn't be terrible. The old Karen who's like from the 1700s is the one that scares me. I think that would be.
That's true.
I could
see Jake in his backyard playing with his hoop and stick, and we're like, "What is he doing?"
I'm gonna run up to your house whenever it happens, just flipping it like all wide-eyed, like, "Hi, Smitty," you know. Great.
I will shoot you to get rid of the demon. I'll go for like your shoulder or something, so I just hit the demon and not you.
But if I'm possessed though, like you need to make sure you got.
I'm gonna coat them in holy water.
Okay.
So I'll like paint them with garlic and holy water, and that will exorcise the demon.
Rock salt. I've watched Supernatural. Rock salt's the way to go.
Right. Oh, we can get one of those bug assault guns that shoots the salt. We'll just shoot you with that a bunch of times until it's empty, until you think you're good.
Yeah, that's
Might
how you
sting
know.
a little bit.
How you know you're the ultimate herper if you get possessed herping. You win.
Spent so much time out there that they finally said, "All right, let's just take him." Clearly, he wants this to happen because he keeps showing up in his car.
Tired of this guy and his headlights coming through here.
You and your stupid flashlight. Take your LED somewhere else.
Keep like a crucifix or rosary beads hanging from the mirror or something.
Yeah. And it's so funny, man, when you think you see a snake, you don't you're kind of just like in the zone. I can't tell you how many times I've slammed the brakes, thrown my truck in park, hopped out with the flashlight and go running down the road and I don't see it. And I turn around and my truck's 50 yards down that way and my black. And I'm like, oh God.
Oh God.
I'm by myself. Let's walk. And then you hear something run through the woods. You're like, fuck.
Hell no. Yeah.
Yeah. I've cursed out a few sticks in my time for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got me out the car, almost getting attacked by demons for this. Damn it.
You want to talk about scare? I walked up on the armadillo one day while I was walking back to my truck. It came out while I was walking back. Dude, armadillos sound big when they're rustling.
Yeah, when they're moving around, they do sound much bigger than they are.
Dude, they sound like deer. That thing scared the tar out of me.
It's just a leprosy ball.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
We got those up here now. I saw one dead on the side of the road in Rock Hill. It's crazy.
Kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds hard.
Where are all the isopod people when we need them?
What's that?
They're just mammalian isopods. How come people can't catch those and sell them?
They are terrible, terrible creatures. They're the most invasive thing we have in the state, man.
How do you really feel?
It's next to hogs. Next to hogs, armadillos.
Next to us.
Yeah, next to us. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but we're the most invasive thing in the world. So I said around here. So, but
all right.
Awesome, man. Well, this has definitely been fun. Definitely check out all the cool stuffs he's got going on.
Yeah.
This
thanks,
episode,
guys.
Yeah, man. This episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com, Facebook, Instagram. Check them out. New cage sizes and all that good stuff dropping here soon. In the meantime, you need racks, you need cages, please hit us up. Use the code THN at checkout and get some dollars shaved off your order. And then Steve Snakesuary's Venom Hot Sauce. Be sure to check him out. Steve Snakesuary on Instagram and Facebook. Actually, on Facebook, it's just under Snakesuary. And then stevesnakesuary.com. Get all your hot sauce needs fulfilled.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back for Snakes and Stogies 129 on Monday. No idea what's planned, but that's just how we roll around here.
Yep.
So everyone have a good evening, good morning, good night, whenever you listen to this, watching it, whatever. We love you all. Thank you.
We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
See you, man.